Hello everyone and welcome back to Hit the Apex. I'm Charlie and today we have another live watch along. This time we are live for the 2022 Italian Grand Prix. Before we get going, make sure to like, share and subscribe to the channel if you are new around here. Dugout Daily, the football channel, Hit the Apex, the F1 channel and at MCFC Hibs on Twitter. So we are 55 minutes away from lights out here. Big up ORT Racing. Hope you're well, mate. So the overview for this race. Round 16 of the 2022 season comes to Monza. Charles Leclerc starts on pole for Ferrari at their home race. George Russell lines up alongside after grid penalties for some of his rivals. Max Verstappen starts 7th in a Red Bull that's been quick all weekend. So we'll start from the beginning. Hello. It's a warm and sunny day here once again at the Temple of Speed with just under an hour to go until lights out. The crowds are pouring into the grandstands as they await what could be a classic race. But of course, what they all really want to see is a Ferrari victory. Charles Leclerc memorably won this race back in 2019 in front of the Tifosi, and he would dearly love a repeat today. The first Ferrari driver to take 8 poles in a season since Michael Schumacher in 2004 is Charles Leclerc. Yeah, Nick de Vries out-qualified Nicholas Latifi, of course. And Alex Albon is unwell at the moment, unfortunately. Of course, get well soon, Alex Albon. Nick de Vries takes his seat today. And we'll look at the starting grid before we get going. We get going in around 52 minutes time from now. 3 o'clock local time, 2 o'clock UK time. And the starting grid looks like this at the moment. Leclerc is starting on pole alongside George Russell. A McLaren 3-4 of Lando Norris and Daniel Ricciardo. And Pierre Gasly 5th alongside Fernando Alonso in 6th. The highest man to take a penalty is Max Verstappen. He starts in 7th with a 5-place grid penalty. We'll go through that again in a moment. The good news for the Monegasque racer is that he's starting on pole. The even better news is that championship rival Max Verstappen is down in 7th after the Dutchman was handed a 5-place grid drop for taking on new power unit elements. So we'll go through the provisional starting grid again. Unless, of course, there's any pit lane starts here at the Autodromo Nazionale Monza. So, Charles Leclerc starts on pole for Ferrari's home race. He is alongside George Russell. He's in 2nd for Mercedes. And it's a McLaren 3-4 with Lando Norris and Daniel Ricciardo for McLaren, of course. And Pierre Gasly is in 5th for AlphaTauri. 6th place is Fernando Alonso. Seventh place, the highest man to take a penalty, Max Verstappen, a 5-place grid penalty. He is in 7th. Nick de Vries, number 45 this weekend, in the Williams, in 8th. Guan Yu Zhou is in 9th for Alfa Romeo, and 10th, both Williams in the top half as Nicholas Latifi is 10th. 11th, 11-12 for Aston Martin with Vettel and Stroll. Sergio Perez is in 13th. He's taken a penalty, to be exact, a 10-place grid penalty. Esteban Ocon in 14th with a 5-place grid drop. 15th is Valtteri Bottas. He has took a he's taken a 15-place grid penalty, and alongside him is Kevin Magnussen. He's also taken a 15-place grid penalty. 17th, Mick Schumacher. He's taken a 5-place grid penalty, and Carlos Sainz is in 18th. Lewis Hamilton 19th, and Yuki Tsunoda 20th. They all have back of the grid starts as their penalties. So what does everyone think will happen in this race then? The favourite is Max Verstappen, but Verstappen could still be a potent threat, even though he's down in P7. Even from down the order, he won 2 races recently from further back, taking victory in Hungary from 10th on the grid and the win in Spa from 14th. And that Red Bull is looking very quick in the straight line, which is important at the Temple of Speed. So Verstappen is actually the favourite. Yeah, as we've just got some stats actually before we get going soon. So we'll just look at race wins this season. At the top of that ranking is Verstappen with 10. Leclerc is in second with 3, and Perez and Sainz joint third with 1 each. The driver standings, Verstappen has a 109-point advantage at the top of them. Fastest laps this season, Verstappen's also the top of that with 5. Leclerc second with 3. Perez, Sainz and Hamilton in third with 2. And Norris in fourth with 1. ORT's prediction is Verstappen first, Leclerc second, Hamilton third, Perez fourth, and Russell fifth. Verstappen doesn't need to take any risks either, such as his lead in the championship. He has a mighty 109-point advantage over both Leclerc and his teammate Sergio Perez. A handful of second places is enough to ensure he takes the driver's title this year. There will be a minute silence for Queen Elizabeth II in half an hour's time at 2:44 p.m. local time and 1:44 p.m. here at Monza. Yeah, Mercedes still winless. It's only Red Bull and Ferrari that have actually won this season. Ferrari running a special livery this weekend, of course. Max Verstappen, of course, joined on the fourth row with Nick de Vries and fellow Dutchman. It's a good performance, to be fair, from de Vries yesterday in qualifying. Perez is another with grid penalties for today as he starts in P13. It's going to be a mixed up race with plenty of drivers out of position. Lewis Hamilton and Carlos Sainz are right down the order in 19th and 18th respectively. What's everyone's predictions then? We are 42 minutes away from lights out. Let's see what people are thinking. Fernando Alonso will start his 349th race today. That means he will equal Kimi Raikkonen's record of the most race starts in F1. Both of their debuts were in Australia in 2001. Of course, Kimi Raikkonen, the 2007 world champion, Alonso back-to-back champion, 2005 and 2006. It's 21 wins for Raikkonen, 32 wins for Alonso. 103 podiums for Raikkonen and 98 for Alonso. 18 poles to 22 in favour of Alonso once again. 46 fastest laps to 23 in favour of Raikkonen. Career points, Raikkonen 1,873. Alonso 2,039. and their 349th Grand Prix. Of course, Raikkonen's was the last race of last season, Abu Dhabi 2021, and Alonso's Italy 2022. It's a blow for Sainz to have to take penalties here at his team's home race, but the Spaniard acknowledged that at least his car is looking good this weekend, and the sight of him skiving his way back through the field will certainly get the crowd on their feet, as cars are getting out on track now. Daniel Ricciardo's helmet today is actually inspired by Valentino Rossi. And we saw on the lap comparison yesterday in qualifying, the F1 car's average lap time around Monza is 1 minute 20. The safety car's average lap time is 45 seconds slower, and a family car's average lap time around Monza is 75 seconds slower than an F1 car. If you're wondering why the Ferrari has had a makeover, they're celebrating 75 years as a car company this weekend, as well as the yellow accents on the car. Both drivers and the mechanics are in yellow overalls this weekend in honour of the team's prancing horse logo. We're 37 minutes away from lights out here at Monza. Ibrahimovic is at Monza today. Victor Martins won the F3 championship. Felipe Drugovich won the F2 championship. As drivers are peeling in and out of the pit lane at the moment. Whether the change in livery will bring them luck or not remains to be seen. It isn't always the case that a new look car goes down well, with Mercedes in 2019 being a memorable example of how wrong it can all go. There is George Russell out on track. He starts on the front row today. The pit lane is open. So Nick De Vries' career starts in Formula 2. He had 4 wins in the 2020 season. So we are around 35 minutes away from lights out here. So the Monza penalties from today, the grid penalties, Tsunoda, Hamilton and Sainz all start back at the grid. Magnussen, Bottas and Schumacher all have 15-place grid penalties. Perez with a 10-place grid penalty, and Ocon and Verstappen with 5-place grid penalties. Hamilton starts down the back of the field with Sainz and may find himself struggling to make headway here if a DRS train forms. His teammate has a great opportunity of a strong result with Russell lining up on that front row. He finished in the top 5 of every race this year bar one, and that consistency is part of why Mercedes are starting to challenge Ferrari for P2 in the Constructors. The last 3 Italian Grand Prix have been iconic results, to be fair. 2019, of course, Charles Leclerc won with that famous line from David Croft. Mercedes threw everything at him today. He won in Spa. He wins in Monza. Charles Leclerc wins the 2019 Italian Grand Prix. And then 2020, Pierre Gasly with a win there. And 2021, of course, McLaren with a 1-2 with Ricciardo and Norris. And it was actually back-to-back P2s at Monza for McLaren. Sainz in 2020 and Norris in 2021. Speaking of Norris, here he is on the radio. I don't know if you heard that, so we're just gonna play it again. So here is Lando Norris on the radio.
Okay, Lando, big lift up into turn 11, big lift up into turn 11 to cool the car, and we drive through pits again.
Alpine were always expected to go well here, with this track similar in characteristics to Spa, where they came home 5th and 7th, but their qualifying didn't go to plan, with Ocon knocked out in Q2. Before taking a grid drop, while Fernando Alonso failed to set a time in Q3. Kimi Räikkönen's here. And he has linked up in the paddock with Antonio Giovinazzi. Fortunately Fortunately for the Spaniard, those grid penalties mean he lines up 6th, not 10th, and he's in with a decent shout of a good result today. Yeah, Alpine do need a number 2 driver. There are links of Pierre Gasly. That is not confirmed yet, of course. Yeah, I do think he's only gone for a big paycheck, to be honest. I believe, I don't know if it's true or not, but apparently Ricciardo will be having a break year next year and returning in 2024. Yeah, I think so. But with Alpine embroiled in a fight for 4th in the Constructors with McLaren, they won't have been too happy to see both Piappa cars out-qualify their drivers. Lando Norris lines up 3rd while Daniel Ricciardo is 4th, and they have fond memories of this track last season, of course. Ricciardo won for McLaren here last year, a memorable result for the Honey Badger, and as it stands, his last F1 victory, with the Australian set to leave the team at the end of the season. That result could well be the highlight of their partnership. It has been a bad season for Ricciardo. It's definitely not been a good one, has it? Here's Verstappen on the radio. Let's see what he has got to say.
Everything okay with the car?
Yeah, everything felt good.
Understood.
His victory last year followed on from Pierre Gasly's here the year before. Monza throwing up two bizarre and incident-packed races back-to-back. Both were memorable for so many reasons, but could a third be on the cards today? We're around 20 minutes from lights out. What's everyone's predictions then? We're 20 minutes away from lights out. There's one driver on the grid who has already exceeded expectations this weekend, and that's Nick de Vries. He drove for Aston Martin on Friday in FP1, and then on Saturday he got a very late call to jump in Alex Albon's car for the rest of the weekend after the Thai driver was diagnosed with appendicitis. There is Charles Leclerc heading for his Ferrari. But now there'll be a minute's silence for Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. There we go then. De Vries managed to outqualify his teammate Williams and made Q2. A very solid showing. Then, thanks to all the grid penalties, he's found himself starting in the thick of the action in the top 10. Williams have a good car here with top 10 potential given their straight line speed. If De Vries managed to score points on debut, he would certainly put himself into the reckoning for a seat on the grid next year, as they sing the Italian national anthem. So the drivers have headed for the front of the grid for the pre-race formalities, including the national anthem. But first, there is a minute's silence in memory of Queen Elizabeth II. Then was the national anthem. Sorry. Then was the national anthem performed by Andrea Bocelli. It's a beautiful rendition for the all too familiar Il Canto degli Italiani, with fans of a certain age also able to remember Michael Schumacher conducting it many times on the podium. We're just under 15 minutes away from lights out then. Speaking of Schumacher, Leclerc equalled his Ferrari record of 8 poles in a season yesterday. The Monegasque driver has been scintillating over one lap all season, but hasn't won a race since Austria back in July. Just to give you a quick rundown of exactly who did get a grid penalty, the list is Verstappen and Perez for Red Bull, Hamilton, Sainz, Tsunoda, Ocon, Bottas, and both Haas cars. 9 drivers in total, but who will make the biggest recovery? I think Charles Leclerc has a good opportunity to try and win here in front of these amazing people at Monza. The pressure they have is even more now, especially after everything that has happened this season. They need to calm down to show that Ferrari can be better, especially for next season. That's what Felipe Massa has just said, the former Ferrari driver, of course. And there is Max Verstappen on the way to the car. Ten minutes away from lights out. And the Ferrari banners are out here. Verstappen has just said, I think Ferrari this weekend is quite competitive. I think realistically P2 should be possible, but I hope the wing we chose yesterday pays off. We don't need to win anymore, but we want to. So we're 8 minutes away. Who is everyone's prediction? Who will win this race? I believe it will be Verstappen, to be honest. Sylvester Stallone, Zlatan Ibrahimovic, Hugh Grant, and Gordon Ramsay are all at Monza today. So the strategy here is usually a one-stop, and that's what Pirelli think is the fastest way to get to the flag. The Ferrari drivers and Verstappen all managed to save a new set of softs for the race too, after some progress through the early part of qualifying. So the quickest one stop they believe is soft to hard, and as quick is medium to hard. An alternative one stop is soft to medium. We're 5 minutes away from lights out. Toto Wolff said, hasn't been our weekend so far. We're lacking real pace with Russell P2. It's a matter of penalties. And I think we have a good opportunity from there. For the first time this year, we weren't really good on the long runs on Friday, which is making us think we can't compete with Leclerc and Verstappen. But it could be different today. I think tyre deck was always a strength of ours, And if we have that today, then we compete. But whether we have it today, not sure. Here's Perez on the radio.
These Astons have a monster rear wing going on. They're going to be pretty slow on the run to 11.
So we'll go through the grid one last time before we get underway. Leclerc lines up on pole with Russell on the front row. It's a McLaren 3-4 of Norris and Ricciardo. Gasly 5th, Alonso 6th. Verstappen is in 7th with a 5-place grid penalty. Nick de Vries is in 8th on his F1 debut. In 9th, you have got... in 9th is Guan Yu Zhou with Nicholas Latifi making both Williams starting the top 10 here. It's an Aston Martin 11-12 with Vettel followed by Lance Stroll. Perez 13th, Ocon 14th, Bottas 15th, Magnussen 16th, Schumacher 17th, Sainz 18th, Hamilton 19th, and Tsunoda 20th are all on penalties. The starting tyres have been revealed. 5 drivers have opted for the soft tyres. Leclerc from pole and Russell from P2, Verstappen as well as Ocon and de Vries. Everyone else is on the mediums, with the Aston Martin drivers on scrubbed mediums, as per their usual preference for the scrubbed tyre. There is the Italian president as we are underway in a couple of moments. The grid is starting to clear now, leaving just 20 drivers out there alone with their thoughts. Some drivers are chasing a seat for next year and need to impress. Others are chasing championship points. Some need a strong recovery drive. Others are out of position and need to defend. And we are underway here at Monza for the formation lap. 53 laps of racing. Yeah, Leclerc on softs. Here is Mick Schumacher on the radio.
Okay, have fun. See you on the other side.
Where do we predict Verstappen to finish today? I honestly think he could and maybe should win this race. Leclerc leads off to the audible roars from the crowd as Russell slots in behind on the long run down to turn 1. Everyone else gets going behind as the tension starts to ramp up. Previous winners: Hamilton in 2017 and 2018, Leclerc in 2019, Gasly in 2020, and of course Ricciardo in 2021. The weekend attendance is 337,000 at Monza. Leclerc is already heading towards the last corner, Parabolica, while Tsunoda is only just coming round turn 6. It's 27 degrees Celsius out there, and Leclerc might be sat on the grid for a while at this rate. And there is Max Verstappen approaching the grid as we are about to get underway here at Monza. And there is Christian Horner in the garage, as well as Toto Wolff in the Mercedes garage. And we are about to get underway. The green flags are up. The 5 red lights. It's lights out and away we go. It's a brilliant start by George Russell. Leclerc covers him off. George Russell ends up behind Leclerc. So Leclerc's in the lead, followed by Russell and McLaren. Russell's had to go through the runoff area, as well as, I believe that's Guan Yu Zhou and the Haas. And Leclerc is still ahead. Pierre Gasly is up in 4th. What has happened to Ricciardo? He's down in 6th for 7th here. A battle there between McLaren and Alpine. Leclerc gets a great start and he reaches the first chicane with his nose in front, but Russell brakes late and comes up alongside, almost makes contact with the Ferrari and has to cut the apex. He gives the place back. It's been a dreadful start for Norris, and Ricciardo is now 3rd. Sorry, it's Norris with a poor start, not Ricciardo. Norris is down in 6th. Ricciardo is 3rd. Yeah. So the order is Leclerc, Russell, Ricciardo, Verstappen, Gasly, Norris. Norris looks like he went into anti-stall. He's down to 6th. Verstappen is already up to 4th, picking off Gasly. Ricciardo will be watching his mirrors for his former teammate. And Verstappen is in the podium places already. So the order is Leclerc, Russell, Verstappen, Ricciardo, Gasly, Norris, Alonso, De Vries in 8th, Guan Yu Zhou, Stroll, Vettel, Magnussen. Ocon has just overtaken him. Positions gained, Verstappen and Magnussen with 4, Tsunoda with 3, Latifi's in 14th, Sainz 15th, Perez 16th. Perez has actually lost 3 positions. Tsunoda is in 17th. Here's a replay of the race start. It's a good launch by both the men at the front. I'm not sure what's happened with Norris there. Russell had to avoid making contact as there was 4 drivers that ended up going through the runoff area. Here's the launch of George Russell. It is a good start, but Leclerc was a very good start as well. The start analysis reaction time, Leclerc 0.27 seconds, Russell 0.36. Hamilton remains P19, but Sainz has made progress. He is 16th. Verstappen wastes no time using the slipstream to pick off Ricciardo before the first chicane for third. Perez has dropped some places and he's fighting side by side with Sainz. The Ferrari man elbows past for P15. Here's Ricciardo on the radio.
I suggest brake balance +1 click. Brake balance +1.
Oh, there was contact with a Haas there of Kevin Magnussen. De Vries remains P8 and Alonso is 7th and starting to look at making a move on Norris. Leclerc leads this one by 1.3 seconds from Russell, who will have Verstappen for company very soon. The Dutchman isn't too far off DRS range in a Mercedes, and this is looking like a great race between the title protagonists. Verstappen has DRS and he has set the fastest lap. Further replays of the start reveal some contact between Bottas and a Haas, with some debris flying off the Alfa and being run over by Hamilton behind. Sergio Perez with a good move on Kevin Magnussen for P14. And Verstappen is right on the tail of George Russell already. Here is Latifi on the radio.
Okay, the car is good. There is no damage. Let's keep pushing.
Verstappen has DRS now in his pursuit of Russell for second. Schumacher has picked off Hamilton for P18. Is the Mercedes carrying damage? Perhaps not. Those two trade places once again, as Verstappen is gaining a lot on George Russell. He goes for the inside, brakes later, and he's ahead of George Russell for P2. Sainz and Perez are also making progress through the field. Verstappen is already P2. It's all about Verstappen here in the early stages, and he is gaining. He makes the move into the first chicane, and Russell doesn't fight it overly much. That's P2 for the Dutchman, and he's 2.2 seconds behind Leclerc in the fight for the win. Here is Perez on the radio.
Good, we stay with signs. Follow signs.
And that is Carlos Sainz with a move on Sebastian Vettel for P11. As Verstappen just keeps getting fastest lap after fastest lap. And Alonso and Perez battling through the first chicane. Sorry, Perez and Ocon. Sainz picks off Vettel for P11 into Parabolica, and Perez will try and follow him through. Stroll is next up for those two, and the Canadian's defence doesn't last long. Sainz picking him off into the first chicane, but Perez can't follow him through as he is too busy slugging it out with Ocon behind. The battle for fourth at the moment between Ricciardo, Gasly and Norris. As Gasly gaining on Ricciardo, not gaining enough. The front three have a sizable gap to the rest now, with Ricciardo, the cork, in the bottle behind. But Verstappen isn't closing in on Leclerc as quick as expected, with a gap between the top two holding steady at 2.2 seconds. Here is Russell on the radio.
Fronts are watching out quite a lot.
And Sergio Perez is in the pits. And for Red Bull, it is
Fronts are watching out quite a lot.
It is a 2.1 stop. I didn't mean to play that then, I'm sorry. So Perez needs to start gaining after he has just pit. Leclerc and Verstappen are not pulling away from Russell either, as the Dutchman is told to slow slightly to recharge his battery. He may well come back strongly in a lap or two. Perez has pitted and it looks like there's some smoke from the back of his car. That could be a brake issue. It's the hards for the Mexican, and now flames are visible on his front brakes. Well, that's not ideal for Perez, who was dropped to last. Can he get on top of these smoking brakes? He shouldn't need to stop again, but whether he can recover for points. Sainz has picked off the Vries for 8th, with his countryman Alonso next in his sights. Here's Russell on the radio.
So green 9, position 9, green 9, position 9. Perez stop for hard. He's got a brake on fire.
So the battle for 7th at the minute between Alonso, Sainz and De Vries. So Ricciardo is still holding up a chain of cars, and that queue is lagging 10 seconds back on the front three. Sainz is making progress. He picks off Alonso for 7th. And here's a replay of Vettel. Vettel's losing power. And the recap at the start, Leclerc was able to hold on to his lead, holding off the challenger Russell into the first corner. Verstappen has made a fast start to the race and soon was up to 2nd after starting in 7th. He's now chasing down Leclerc for the lead, with Russell following the Dutch racer. And Sebastian Vettel is out. He stopped out on track, and will that have to be a safety car? Here is Lance Stroll, Vettel's teammate, on the radio.
Okay, Lance, Sebastian's still under pressure from Ocon. Think about your tools. We're doing a good job. We're happy, but think about your tools for balance.
While that was playing, Carlos Sainz has just passed Pierre Gasly for P5. Leclerc is told he might be changing strategy, and the Monegasque driver agrees. Surely everyone is one-stopping, but it could be a swap between the mediums and hards for the second stint. Sainz has now picked off Norris for 6th. Further back, Hamilton has recovered to P13. Issues for Vettel, he says on the radio, he's losing power. He's dropped to 18th. Vettel pulls over at the exit of turn 7. That's the end of his final Monza race and a far from satisfactory finish. What will race control do? It is a virtual safety car. And there is going to be pit stops here. The entire field slows, but most have already been past the pit lane entrance. Will the VSC last the second lap and give the field a relatively free stop? And the Ferrari of Charles Leclerc is in the pits here. And Leclerc comes out ahead of Ricciardo. Leclerc pits for plan A, but Verstappen stays out. And Russell also stays out. And now the track is clear and racing has resumed. So the order at the moment is Verstappen, Russell, Leclerc, Ricciardo, Sainz, Gasly, Alonso, Norris, De Vries, and Zhou, top 10. Stroll, Ocon, Hamilton, Tsunoda, Latifi, Magnussen, Schumacher, Bottas, and Perez. Lap 1, turn 1 incident involving Magnussen under investigation, leaving the track and gaining an advantage. It's mediums for Leclerc, which is going to be a tough ask to make the end. Ferrari could have pulled this off. Ferrari could have pulled this one off as Leclerc comes out just in front of Ricciardo, which was so important. Here is Hamilton on the radio.
These tires are terrible, mate.
It's disappointing for Vettel. Sainz has just picked off Ricciardo for 4th. Ferrari nailed this one. Red Bull tell Verstappen that it's a long stint required for Leclerc on the mediums, but Leclerc did save some time by pitting under VSC. Here's a replay of Gasly He moves to the left and gets past Ricciardo, but outbrakes himself and has to use the runoff area. Behind Gasly and Ricciardo, the last two Monza winners are fighting over P5. Gasly makes a move but runs wide in doing so after locking up and gives the place back, as you were. Here is Russell on the radio.
Grip with 4 and restart on the front.
So we're on lap 15 at the moment. So Perez and Leclerc are the only drivers to have stopped so far, with Vettel the only retiree of the race. Leclerc does have to make his medium tyres last the distance as he sets a new fastest lap. It's going to be a tough ask to win this one, but anyone can. So Verstappen leads from Russell and Leclerc, with Sainz having recovered from P18 at the start to fourth. Ricciardo is holding Gasly at bay, the Frenchman not helped by a flat spot on his tyres. Then comes Alonso, Norris and De Vries, who is holding his own, and Zhou. Leclerc has just said on the radio, make sure the engine is right. That does not sound good at all for Ferrari. And Hamilton is past Lance Stroll. 5-second penalty for Magnussen, leaving the track and gaining an advantage on turn 1 of lap 1. Leclerc has been told to short shift and isn't to impress. Ferrari have had reliability problems this year, with PU issues costing Leclerc more than one victory this year. Hamilton climbs to P11, picking off Stroll, and he's now only 4.4 seconds off the points. as Leclerc sets another fastest lap. Here is Guan Yu Zhou on the radio.
Sound rear slide now.
Verstappen is now slowly extending his lead, nearly 7 seconds between him and Russell. Leclerc's a further 8.9 seconds back. As Norris picks off Alonso for 7th. How much further can this lot extend their first stint? Here's Ricciardo on the radio.
Gasly 0.9. Daniel, what do you think about front wing?
And Magnussen got a 5-second penalty, leaving the track and gaining an advantage. And the McLaren of Daniel Ricciardo pits. I'll be back in a moment. Sorry about that. I'm back. Let's see what we've missed then on the lap by lap data. So we read that. A recap, having climbed through the field at the start, Verstappen picked off Russell and then inherited the lead when Leclerc pitted early. The Dutchman's in control as it stands, but it all depends on how deep into the race he can take these soft tyres, as George Russell is in the pits. The midfield stops again. Gasly's in for hard. Zhou and Stroll have also pitted. The gaps are small, and as such, those three plummet down the order. Who will react next time around? Verstappen is still extending his lead, with Russell starting to nurse his soft tyres. Ricciardo and De Vries both react to Gasly's stop. Hard tyres for the Australian and mediums for the Williams. Ricciardo does just get in front of Gasly. De Vries slots in behind. Replays show a slightly slow stop for Gasly, and that's why the undercut didn't work. All of which means Norris is up to 5th, Alonso is 6th, and Hamilton is 7th. Are they in danger of being undercut? Is a replay of Perez and I believe that's Schumacher, in battle. So Verstappen started 7th and he's in 1st. Here's Ricciardo on the radio.
I mean, I've been rear limited mostly. The front's not having the easiest time, but I'm all rear limited, so I'll come down just a little bit.
Leclerc's early stop is starting to look like Ferrari are either very confident about their tyre wear or chancing their arm with a 2-stop. Verstappen is finally starting to complain understeer for the Dutchman, indicating that his tyres are starting to lose some grip. Here's Schumacher on the radio.
Last lap, Bottas. Go ahead, 27.6, 1.2 behind.
Let's just say that my tires start to slowly take off a bit.
Further back, the midfield is still yet to shake out with only half the pit stops completed. Sainz remains 4th and is starting to drop back, having used up some tyre wear climbing through the field. As such, when Verstappen pits, he will come out in front of the Spaniard. Here's Alonso on the radio.
We have a problem with the deployment, or everything is normal?
Okay, everything looks okay from our side.
Wow.
All three tyres are on show out there at the moment, with Verstappen, who has actually just pitted, and is 9 seconds behind Leclerc. With Verstappen and Russell doing a good job at extending the lifespan of the red mark softs. Spoke too soon, Russell has peeled into the pits. The hard compound gets bolted on. It's a slightly tardy stop at 3.6 seconds, and he comes out ahead of Norris in 4th. Behind, Hamilton is within DRS range of his former teammate Alonso, and everyone knows what happens when those two last run side by side. Here's Nick De Vries on the radio in the Williams.
Ricardo ahead in P12 on the slow side on the prime.
Red Bull are starting to move in the pit lane. Is Verstappen going to be the next to pit? If so, he'll come out behind Leclerc, who will then have to defend with much older tyres. This one is going to play out towards the end of the race. Here's Lando Norris on the radio.
Yeah, just a little bit of dirty air now. We should be fine.
Verstappen does indeed pit next time around for a set of mediums. It's a 2.4 stop and he comes out into clear air in second. The gap to Leclerc's around 9.9 seconds, but that will come down rapidly once the Dutchman gets these tyres up to temperature. So Verstappen and Leclerc are on the same compound, but the Ferrari's tyres are 13 laps older. Here's Perez on the radio.
We've had our first lap deleted for track limits, turn 7.
And Hamilton gets past Alonso down into the first chicane for P6. Leclerc leads the Italian Grand Prix, but can he nurse his tyres to the end and keep the charging Red Bull of Verstappen behind? The gap is 10 seconds, with pretty much half the race to go. That's the fight for the win. Behind Sainz is third, but has yet to stop. Here is Ricciardo on the radio.
Daniel, do you think there is any opportunity to hold Gasly up by 1/10 to give Lando a clear track?
So, Hamilton picks off Alonso at last for 6th into the first chicane, late braking, got the move done as Hamilton's race starts to come back to him today. The freeze has been good, to be fair. The battle for 11th between Ricciardo, Gasly and De Vries. McLaren are playing the team game. Ricciardo is being told to hold up Gasly in order to ensure that when Norris pits, he can drop into clean air in front of both of them. Interesting to see if the Aussie does as he's told here. It would mean ceding track position to his teammate. So the only DNF is Sebastian Vettel. Verstappen has already taken 1.5 seconds out of Leclerc's lead. The race run simulations on Friday did show Red Bull have the best race pace, and it certainly looks that way on this compound. Further back, Russell's complaining about the lack of grip on the hards. Here is Stroll on the radio.
Okay, Lance, that's a better lap. Similar pace to Magnussen, quicker than Magnussen this lap.
Oh, yeah, great.
Stroll isn't happy. They're saying Leclerc will be in striking distance of Verstappen in 10 laps. Still no signs of the rest of these pit stops as Verstappen sets a new fastest lap and takes another half a second out of Leclerc's lead. Russell is holding on to Sainz just about with the Spaniard yet to pit, and he's told to lift and coast for the next few laps as Verstappen keeps setting fastest laps. And Carlos Sainz is in the pit lane. Onto the softs. A 2.3 second stop. And he's come out behind Sergio Perez. Sainz is into the pits. It's a set of softs and a 2.3 stop. Out he comes behind Perez in 8th. Here's Schumacher on the radio.
Yeah, 8-9, it's a bit rear that is starting to move a bit around, but it's fine, no crash.
Understood.
That promotes Russell back into the podium, but Sainz could be pretty feisty on a set of softs in the closing stages. There is Robert Schwartzman in the Ferrari pit box. And Alonso is in the pits. Verstappen is still eating into Leclerc's lead. What can Ferrari do today? If they're going to try an audacious two-stop, they need to give their driver enough time to make a set of softs work. But for now, he stays out, still in the lead of his team's home race. And it looks like Fernando Alonso is retiring here. Fernando Alonso is out of the car. Alonso's in the pits and retiring. He's told there's an issue by the team and ordered back in to retire the car. So that's Sebastian Vettel out and his replacement teammate for next year, Fernando Alonso. Here's Lewis Hamilton on the radio.
So see what you've done with diff high speed, so that's good. You also have EB if you want to use it.
Alonso has DNF'd. $20 laps to go. That promotes Ricciardo back into the points in P10 with 4 drivers ahead, including his teammate yet to stop. This one could help McLaren out in the constructors with Ocon down in 14th. Sainz picks off Perez into turn 4 as Ferrari are in the pit lane. They have called Leclerc in. That promotes Verstappen back to the lead as Ferrari bolts on some fresh softs. It's a good 2.6 stop and he comes out ahead of Russell. And Hamilton has been in the pit lane and had a 3-second stop. So is Schumacher. Hamilton's in the pits and also swaps to softs. We'll tidy that one up in a second as Schumacher appears in the pit lane behind. He has a 3.2 second stop. Schumacher there. Here he is on the radio.
Okay, mode T4 and Ron plan B. I plan to take off a little bit for that. For that tire will be more limited.
So the gap between Verstappen and Leclerc is 19 seconds. The battle for 8th between Ricciardo and Gasly. The last 2 winners here, of course, them two. And Hamilton in P11. The gap up front is just under 20 seconds. That's what Leclerc has to make up on the softs, with Verstappen's pace fairly good on a set of 9-lap-old mediums. This one could be a grandstand finish, which the crowd will be all for. Hamilton came out behind the gaggle of cars, headed by Ricciardo in P12. He has Joe De Vries, Gasly, and the Aussie to fight his way through. Here he is on the radio.
We have 19 laps remaining. The soft tyre, best tyre out there.
And into the pits is Lando Norris. It's a slow stop for Lando, 5.1. And Bottas is also in the pits. It's going to be close between Norris and Ricciardo. Ricciardo is ahead of Norris. Will Gasly be? It's wheel to wheel into the chicane. And Gasly is ahead of Lando Norris. And Hamilton battling with Gasly. He's past Gasly into P7. Hamilton has already picked off Joe as Norris pits from P4. A long first stint looks to have promoted the McLaren man back through the field after his poor start to the race. But it's a slow stop at 5.1 after a sticky rear tyre didn't want to come off. That slow stop costs him. And he comes out behind Hamilton and Gasly. Initial investigations suggest an ERS failure at the cause of Sebastian Vettel's retirement from the Italian Grand Prix. I'm going to quickly run to the toilet. We're on lap 38 here. Leclerc hasn't made any progress yet into eating into Verstappen's lead. Russell is third, Sainz fourth, and Perez has recovered to fifth, despite that very early stop and overheating brakes. That comes then comes the Ricciardo train, but Hamilton has picked off the Aussie now into turn one, and the Mercedes man is up to sixth. I'll be back in a moment. Sorry, before I go, Lando Norris just gets past his teammate Daniel Ricciardo for P7. We'll just catch up quickly what we've missed over the last couple of minutes. Leclerc hasn't made any progress yet into eating into Verstappen's lead. Russell is third, Sainz fourth, and Perez has recovered to fifth despite that very early stop and overheating brakes. Then comes the Ricciardo train. But Hamilton has picked off the Aussie now into turn one. And the Mercedes man is up to sixth. Hamilton has a 19-second gap now to Perez if the Mexican can make his hard tyres go the distance, given they're 29 laps old already. Leclerc has finally managed to switch on his softs and sets a new fastest lap. Here is Sainz on the radio.
Place to focus, turn 5 apex, and Russell lap time 25.9.
Norris is going to be fun to watch in the closing stages. He's picked off Gasly and his teammate is up to seventh. He will try and stick with Hamilton here and knows who chased down Perez. The Freeze is hanging on to the last point here, exactly as Albon did in the Williams back in Spa. It would be a fantastic achievement if he could score today, considering he was only called up yesterday. and he's driving an unfamiliar car. He's in a DRS train. He's simultaneously trying to overtake Gasly and defend from Zhou. And it looks like Lance Stroll is out here. Here's Hamilton on the radio.
A busy couple of laps there, Lewis, but really nice work.
So it looks like a double Aston Martin DNF. Verstappen responds to Leclerc's increased speed, and as such, the gap is holding steady. But further back, Sainz is trying to gain on Russell for the last podium place. Lots of different tyre strategies out there, and it will all play out in the last few laps. Stroll is the latest to be called in for overheating brakes, and he's retiring the car. That's a double DNF for Aston Martin on a poor day for the team. Here is Lance Stroll on the radio.
So Lance, cool the brakes, cool the brakes. We're going to retire the car. So cool the brakes and box this lap. We're going to retire the car. Cool the brakes and box.
So we're on lap 42 of 53 here. Sainz is the big mover on that last lap, taking another second out of Russell in the fight for third. Hamilton is eating into Perez's advantage in the fight for fifth, but he's going to find himself running out of laps. Who is everyone's driver of the day? And it looks like a Red Bull is about to make a pit stop. And it is Sergio Perez. So Verstappen's grid penalty didn't hamper him too much, while there has been plenty of excitement thanks to Hamilton and Sainz having to recover from the back. But Hamilton's day might get easier as it looks like Red Bull are preparing for a pit stop for Perez. There are 10 laps to go. Would be nice to see Nick de Vries hold on to a point. Perez does indeed stop, bolts on some softs, and returns in seventh behind Hamilton and Norris. He's going to have to make some on-track passes if he wants to climb back up the order. His first early pit stop was promoted by some overheating brakes rather than strategy, and it was always a tough ask to make them hard tyres last. Here is Norris on the radio.
So Lando, let's drive the tyre such that if there was a safety car, this tyre would restart.
And here is Nick de Vries on the radio.
The brake penalties are coming a little bit low.
Leclerc just can't get on the pace of Verstappen. Here, that gap is holding steady at 17 seconds and the laps are ticking by. Sainz, though, is catching Russell a little quicker in the fight for the final podium spot. Those two separated by 10 seconds. De Vries has broken clear of the DRS of Joe behind and now will be counting down for the sight of the checkered flag for what will be a brilliant result for Williams. He's managing to hold on to Gasly too, who is complaining about his tyres. Here's Verstappen on the radio.
Okay, mate, so blue flags for Joe and De Vries. Take care because they are racing.
A little of that is to do with the fact Verstappen was making his way through, but every little helps for De Vries, as he's actually gaining on Gasly here. Yeah, it's a frustrating day for Aston Martin. It's also a frustrating day for Alpine. And De Vries is up to 9th. There's a yellow flag, and I think Ricciardo's off. Yeah, it must be, as Ricciardo has dropped about 4 or 5 places. He's in the wall, and that will surely be a safety car. It's in Sector 2. This would be Verstappen's 5th straight win if he makes it to the flag here, but the yellow flags are out. Ricciardo has stopped as he says he's lost the engine. The crews all run into the pit lane as everyone looks at race control. Verstappen has crossed the line to start another lap, and there's a safety car. Russell and Sainz are both in the pits here. And this could make the last couple of laps interesting. Hamilton will also be coming in the pits. As I was saying that McLaren were going to be getting a lot more points than Alpine, they will still be getting more points as it stands, but it won't be as many. Lando Norris is in the pits. Here is Verstappen. The safety cars deployed. Russell was the first of the front runners to come into the pits. The timing they're working for Mercedes. Sainz is also in, and Hamilton stays out. It's all to play for here as Verstappen asks if he can make a free stop or not. Here he is on the radio.
Can we make a free stop?
Yes.
Leclerc is in the pits. Verstappen pits next time around and puts on the softs. Leclerc comes in behind and also bolts on softs. Those two hold position in first and second, with Russell third and Sainz fourth. Hamilton's the first runner on older tyres, along with Perez in sixth. Norris did stop in seventh. Here is Guan Yu Zhou on the radio.
I need to know the tyre situation.
Verstappen crosses the line and the laps are ticking down. The safety car hasn't been out long enough to back up the pack into one line yet, with Leclerc behind Tsunoda and Bottas and a fair few corners behind Verstappen. And Ricciardo's car is still out on track here. Could this race finish behind safety car? Ricciardo's car's still parked out there. It doesn't look like the marshals can push that McLaren out the way. I'm not sure if we're going to get a restart here. The cherry picker has arrived at last to try and sort out the stricken McLaren, with the pack now backing up behind the safety car at last. There are lap cars between Verstappen and Leclerc. Here is Nick de Vries on the radio.
Am I in the correct mode now?
A-firm, yeah, correct. So there is an issue on the safety car allowing cars through.
We're not going to restart here, I don't think. It's the penultimate lap, and they're running out of time to finish this one under racing conditions. The teams seem to be in agreement and are standing around looking pretty casual at the moment. The Red Bull boys are smiling, as well they might be. The race will be finished behind the safety car. De Vries could well find himself picking up 2 points here after being promoted to 9 thanks to Ricciardo's retirement. Yep, that is confirmed. The race will finish behind the safety car, which means Verstappen has won the 2022 Italian Grand Prix, with Leclerc and Russell on the podium. followed by Sainz, Hamilton, Perez with the fastest lap in 6th, Norris, Gasly, De Vries in 9th with his first points in F1 in his first race, Zhou in 10th, Ocon 11th, Schumacher 12th, Bottas 13th, Tsunoda 14th, Latifi 15th, Magnussen 16th, and Ricciardo, Stroll, Alonso and Vettel all DNF. Fair play, Nick De Vries, scoring points on your debut in the worst car on the grid as well. It is disappointing that it's ended on the safety car. It's 11th race. He's dominating, isn't he? 11 races he's won now. The safety car's still out there, and as such, Verstappen is cruising to a 5th straight win here in Monza, which will be his first podium here in his F1 career. He's got 30 career race wins as well. Verstappen will come home and win the 2022 Italian Grand Prix. The safety car will peel in and leave the cars to cross the line by themselves, but there are lap cars in between the leaders, and Max Verstappen wins the Italian Grand Prix. So it's finished. Another win for Red Bull. And it's definitely his championship to lose. So we'll go through the final standings one more time. A Ferrari is back on the podium at Monza. Not the barnstorming finish the crowd deserved, but good performance from Verstappen, who made his way from 7th on the grid to 1st at the flag thanks to a very strong first stint on the softs. Leclerc and Russell round out the podium. Sainz was 4th ahead of Hamilton, Perez and Norris. It could have been better for McLaren had Ricciardo not retired. From inside the points, but at least their rivals Alpine didn't score. So the final result, Verstappen wins the Italian Grand Prix, followed by Leclerc and Russell on the podium, Sainz in 4th, Hamilton 5th, Perez in 6th, Norris in 7th, Gasly in 8th, Nick De Vries on his F1 debut in 9th in the worst car. Fair play to him. Guan Yu Zhou rounds out the point scorers in 10th. Ocon 11th. Schumacher 12th. Bottas 13th. Tsunoda 14th. Latifi 15th. And Magnussen 16th. Ricciardo, Stroll, Alonso and Vettel all DNF. Let's see what Verstappen's got to say then.
You deserve the win today. Well done.
Very lovely, mate. Great race that again. And you won your home Grand Prix.
Well done, Max. That's you deserve that victory. It's a shame it didn't get going at the end there, but you know, you were the fastest car all weekend. So well done, mate.
Yeah, we nailed that. Great job, guys. We had a great race car.
Gasly was 8th at one of his team's home races, albeit that they are based closer to Imola than Monza. De Vries was an incredible 9th on debut for Williams, and Zhou rounded out the points for Alfa Romeo. So we will wrap it up there then. Everyone, thank you all so much for watching. Please like, share and subscribe. Big up ORT Racing for being in the chat and talking through it with us. And it's been a good one today, but I am absolutely knackered. I was up at 7 o'clock watching bloody Anderson Gibb. Thought the fight started at 4. It actually started at 7, so I hardly got any sleep. But that's another story for another day. But we will wrap it up there then. Everybody, thank you all so much for watching. Please like, share and subscribe. Follow me on Twitter as well, at MCFC Hibs if you are new around here. Dugout Daily, the football channel. Hit the Apex, the F1 channel. And at MCFC Hibs on Twitter. Everybody, thank you all so much for watching. And we'll speak to you all soon. Take care and goodbye for now.